Allison. I'm the Programs Outreach and Youth Services Manager here at Monterey County Free Libraries. Thank you for joining me for this special Halloween edition of Book Chat Kids. I love Halloween. It's probably my favorite holiday. I also think fall is my favorite season, so I really enjoy reading spooky books. And one that I was very excited for this year was Dark Waters by Katherine Arden. If you watched my Book Chat Kids videos last Halloween, you heard me review and recommend her first two books in this series, which were Small Spaces and Dead Voices. I love both of those books so much. I highly recommend that you check those two out. And if you want to go back, you can watch the Book Chat Kids video on those two books. So this was the newest release from Katherine Arden. It came out this year. Like I said, it's called Dark Waters, and this book takes place in the spring. So each of these books is set in a different season. Small Spaces is set in the fall, Dead Voices is set in winter, and this one is set in spring. I'm very excited to see what comes out for summer. However, I have to be honest that I found this book a little bit disappointing. This book revisits our three main characters, Coco, Ollie, and Brian. And when we start the action of this book, they're all kind of hunkered down in Brian's family lodge, and they're on the lookout for the Smiling Man. They know that their battle with him isn't over, and they're kind of living in fear, doing all this research on ghost stories to try and figure out what they can do to vanquish this bad guy. In the meantime, their parents have kind of become a little bit worried about them because they've isolated themselves from other friends that they had. They've kind of lost interest in other activities, and their parents have noticed that they're just spending all of their time reading ghost stories. This book is told mainly from Brian's point of view, and his parents are actually trying to distance him from Ollie and Coco so that he can go back to some of his old interests and his old friends. But he convinces his parents to let him go on a sailing journey with Ollie, Coco, Ollie's dad, and Coco's mom, who is a reporter, and they're going out on a lake in their area to look for the lake monster champ. In the meantime, the three friends have received a kind of ominous letter from the Smiling Man with a lot of clues that they have to figure out. And they go out on this boat journey with Brian's old friend Phil and Phil's uncle, and things deteriorate pretty quickly. They find themselves sailing through a veil of fine mist, which they know from previous encounters with the Smiling Man means they're entering into some otherworldly territory. A huge lake monster comes and destroys their boat. They find themselves shipwrecked, and they have to figure out how they're going to get off this island and how they're going to survive. Now that all sounds really exciting, but that takes place pretty quickly, and the rest of the action, I would say, of the book is a little bit kind of slow and dull. Ollie's acting really suspicious, and you never really figure out why. This book ends on a cliffhanger, which the previous two books have wrapped up the story. So you could read them almost just as individual books, especially the first one. The first one could be completely read on its own. By the second one, you kind of get the feeling that we're going to continue this story with the Smiling Man, but it wraps up the whole story. This ends on a complete cliffhanger, so you got to have the fourth book to really figure out what's going on. But one thing that I found a little disappointing with this book is that I was going along getting really ramped up for all this action. They're figuring out how to get off the island, and then the book just kind of ends with this much left in it, and it's because this is two excerpts, one from the first book and one from the second book. So I was kind of disappointed when I thought I had this much story left and it just suddenly ended. So had I known that ahead of time, maybe I wouldn't have been so disappointed, which is why I'm letting all of you know to be aware if you check out this book. All of that being said, if you liked the first two books, I would definitely recommend that you read this book. I didn't find it as creepy as I found the first two books. I thought it was lacking a little bit in the action, but it could just be that that's because it's really setting us up for a very adventurous, very dark, very creepy fourth and final installment in this series. I really look forward to reading the fourth book, and the first two, especially the second one, Dead Voices, remain in my top favorite scary stories, and I hope that you'll check them out. And don't let my slightly mediocre review of this book turn you away from reading it, because if you like the first two, you're going to want to know what happens. So again, that's Dark Waters by Katherine Arden. We have this book in our collection. And if you have any books that you would like to recommend for people to read during this spooky month, we would love to hear them. So let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.